Hi, this video is to show just a simple repair pattern. I'm in the middle of doing a power panto and my bobbin just ran out. So I want to show you exactly what I do. So I'm going to give myself some thread and I'm going to cut that and say release carriage so I can move the machine away. And now I need to pull out enough thread. So if I pull on this upper thread, it brings up the bobbin loop, okay? Probably I'm not going to have very much at first. Okay, right now I just have a tiny little bit. I want enough pulled out that I will be able to tie a knot, okay? So I'm just going to keep pulling up on this and sometimes before the bobbin runs out, when it's getting closer to running out, you'll see some kind of wonky looking stitches. So you want to watch for that and see if you need to take out enough of those stitches that you get all the wonky ones removed. And you want to be careful in where you actually stop, because like a point, you would never want to stop at a point. And sometimes I'll go ahead and go back to a certain color in the fabric just because that will make it harder to tell if I don't do a really pristine job of lining up exact. The color of the fabric can work in my favor. Okay, I think I about have enough. So now I'm just going to tie a knot. And when I tie it, I'm not going to pull it tight against the fabric. I want it to sit loosely on top because I want to be able to pop my knot, so to speak, into the sandwich of the quilt. So now I'm taking one of these needles where you can pop the thread into the end, and I'm just going to pop that in, and I'm trying to take it into a little hole that's already there, and I'm reaching down underneath, so I'm making sure I don't feel my needle, and I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to pull it, and I just heard the knot that I tied pop underneath that top layer. Okay, so now I'm ready to start back quilting right there. And sometimes if I think I'm going to have a hard time telling where it's at, look, I've already lost my spot now. There it is. I'll take, if I have a fabric that this will work on, I'll put a little mark so it makes it easy for me to tell. And so that I don't lose my spot, I'm going to go ahead and do that so it'll be easier to come back to my spot. Okay, so now I need to check my bobbin. So I'm going to come down here, and this was my second bobbin, okay? And so a nice feature on the Pro is the needle jog. So I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to jog my needle down a little bit. And now I'm going to drop my, and I'd already taken my bobbin out before I did this so I'd be ready. And now I'm going to hold my thread here and jog my needle back up, okay? And I had already cleaned that out and cleaned my bobbin out. And then another thing I'll do is take a little piece of cardstock and stick it underneath that little arm and make sure nothing's caught there. And there's my new bobbin. I'll put it back in, kind of do a little quick check, and get back in there, and then I want to do a few stitches. So at this point, I need to go into the red toolbox, say release sewing machine, and make sure I have it on 11 there. And then I'll just do some stitches here to make sure they look good. Okay. Okay, now we're good. So now I'm going to come back down here, and I'm going to tap on OK because I want the software to retake control. And now I'm going to tap on repair pattern. And I like to go ahead and tell it last stitch. It didn't get really far away. If it had, I would use closest stitch, but I'm going to tap on last stitch. And I'm going to tap on trace back. And what I want to watch is once it, get that thread out of the way, once it starts tracing back to where the stitches ended, I'm going to let it go a little bit and hit stop. And then I can use my needle jog, and you're not able to see it because of using the glide foot. But with me standing looking up, I can tap on that needle jog and tell, is it going right down into where the seam is? And it actually is, which is a wonderful thing. Otherwise, I would need to use my nudge keys. So I'm just going to keep tapping this trace +1 and kind of keep monitoring. Every now and then I'll do my needle jog and just make sure. And it's still going exactly down on the, so I didn't mean to hit the minus. I'm just hitting this trace +1 to get back to where it stopped. And now I'm to where my blue marking is, and I'm going to take my needle jog and I'm going to do the needle down. And it is right on it, which is wonderful. When I have to use these nudge keys, then I will do trace back and trace forward, not just the -1 and the +1, but after I nudge, I'll trace back and trace forward, and especially watch wherever there's a point. If you're exact on the point, that's pretty close to meaning you're exact. You may not be. You still need to trace back and forward, but making sure you're right on the points is a good thing. So I can tell that I am right over the stitches. So now all I need to do is say pull bobbin, take a single stitch, and I ran my thing over there to pull that stitch up, and I'm holding my stitches nice and tight. And I'm going to tap on sew. And it kind of goes back just a few stitches, and then it takes I have it set for little micro stitches, and now it's going to take off. And now the next thing I will do is I will check and make sure that the stitches underneath look good. I don't want it to stitch too far if I didn't do a good job. And then these threads right here, I will use that same needle to bury them. I'm not going to try and do it right now. And sometimes what I do when I have threads like that to bury, I will take a marker and I'll do something like this over in the batting, and that lets me know I have threads to bury down from that marker. So I hope that's helped with doing just a simple repair pattern.